Welcome to Enrichment Today podcast, hosted by Dr. Amy Christine Blansett. This podcast covers topics to build stability and find tranquility in your life. Join us to discuss topics to improve your financial health, change your limiting beliefs, improve your wellness, and so much more, all to increase your self-sufficiency. If you like this podcast, make sure to follow the Enrichment Today podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and follow the Drew Lewis Foundation on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. You can also check us out on our websites, enrichmenttoday.org and drewlewis.org. Now sit back, relax, and learn to break some crayons with us.
Hi everybody, I'm Holly Melton. I'm sitting in for Amy Blansett this week, Dr. Amy Blansett. She is temporarily out of commission, but she will be listening in and she'll be tuning in and she'll be back right here in this seat in the very near future. But until then, again, I'm Holly Melton. I am the Reformed Financial Advisor who's come to Drew Lewis to help with financial coaching and development. And I am speaking with Misty Hardin today, and she is one of our favorite, spectacular, wonderful members. She has a great story that we want to share with you. So just sit back, relax. It's just an unbelievable example of some of the folks that come to Drew Lewis, what they do, what they've dealt with, how they find themselves in pretty tough situations, but they find the drive, the power, the self-empowerment, I guess would be a good way to put it, to pull themselves out of some really difficult circumstances, no matter how many times they come up against obstacles. And that's what we are witnessing with different members at the Drew Lewis Foundation. This is why we ask you for your support. And I'm just going to let Misty start to talk about her story. So, Misty, tell us, just start from scratch, how you got associated with the Drew Lewis Foundation, and tell us everything, baby.
Okay, about 6 years ago, my daughter brought home some flyers from elementary school. She went to Robertson, and it was just like a community event. Do you want to learn how to get out of poverty and break some generational curses? And I saw the flyer, and I was like, well, this... At that time, I'd been pretty much isolating myself, and I knew I needed something. I just didn't know what. So we went to that dinner, and Amy came right up to me, and she was like, hey, and she started telling me about... At that time, it was called Circles. And she started telling me about the program, and everything she was saying, I was just like, I need this. And so I called and, got a little more information. But at that time, I had just had a baby, and I didn't have very much support. So I wasn't able to start the program right then. I tried to start a couple more times after that, and I still kind of was set in my own ways. I had fell into some addiction issues. All of my relationships were toxic, pretty much. And so I thought I was ready, but I wasn't really ready to let any of those things be known. I was still pretty ashamed. Yeah. So, like I was telling you earlier, I had gotten in some trouble and I was on probation, and I wasn't doing anything I was supposed to be doing, and ended up sitting in Greene County Jail. And I sat there 6 months, and during that 6 months, I just made that decision to do whatever I needed to do, to stop being ashamed, to start putting my story out there, to start just working on fixing me and not worrying about anything else. So I contacted a sober living program, and when I got out of Greene County Jail, I went directly there, and I started building some community. I was out maybe 6 weeks when I was called to Fairbanks, and I was like, hey, do you guys still do the RISE program? Can I get in? When can I start? And I came up here and I met with Tamar, and I started another one of the classes. And I went for a while, and things were going great, and I loved it, and met a bunch of great ladies and had a great class and got a job that my hours prevented me from coming. So I had to stop again. But then once I switched jobs, I was able to get back in. And then with COVID, we went to the video thing, which was perfect for me. Mm-hmm. And I've been in it ever since. And that's been, almost 2.5 years now, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I've been just trucking along.
Yeah, and Misty has been a great example of overcoming, a lot of times you hold yourself back because of some shame, right? And shame can be our biggest roadblock to get over. There's so many other things that we seem to be able to get through, but feeling insecure and worried that we're going to be judged is something that holds us back from progress. And you get to that point where you're like, enough is enough. I'm not going to be ashamed about anything, because you pulled yourself out of a really, really difficult situation, and you've got kids. So it wasn't like you didn't have somebody there that really needed you. You have 5 kiddos?
I have 7.
7 kids. So she had children that needed her, and they needed her to be the role model. So that's what she decided to do. You heard Misty talk about RISE. RISE is the program that we have at Drew Lewis that educates and supports and helps transform lives. RISE stands for Reaching Independence Through Support and Education. And I always make sure to read it because I don't want to screw it up. It's an important word. It's an important acronym. Reaching independence. And that's what our ultimate goal is for all of our members. We can't do that without community support. So I want Misty to continue to tell her story. Tell me a little bit about what you found at Drew Lewis and the RISE program. What has it helped you with?
Oh man, so much. First, it gave me a sense of community and not knowing that I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
And I had such great people in my classes, and Tamar and Megan and just everyone. Like, I know that I can call them Amy. Anytime I need somebody to advocate for me, I know I can give them a call. I was going through court stuff, and they're like, if you need letters, if you need us to come to court, if you need us to do anything, we're there. And like earlier this year when my significant other passed away, they started a meal train for me. They were there. They mowed my yard. I mean, just everything. Like, I knew no matter what happened, I had people to fall back on. I didn't have to go back into the isolation that I usually go into when I start having a difficult time.
Survival mode.
Yeah. And like just everything. Like, they had help with utilities and rent along the way, and they gave us iPads and a home computer, and I wouldn't even have my job right now if it wasn't for being in this program, because I was in the program, and when the COVID stuff started and we kind of had laid off our hours, I went through the Green for Green program because Meg was like, this would be a cool program, you should go through this. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I went through that, and while I was doing Green for Green, they happened to have a job fair for McCormick at the Career Center. And I had already applied at McCormick several times, but they never called me back. And they're like, and I was going through Green for Green, and they're like, we'll help you with the application, we'll help you with the questions. So I applied again and got hired.
What is Green for Green, for those of us that don't know? It
was a program through the Career Center. It was like 5 weeks. I got 17 certifications, like on lead abatement, forklift training. We did job readiness. Oh my gosh, I got a whole book of certificates. It was really
amazing.
great.
And that helped you get your job at McCormick, which is French's here in Springfield.
Yep.
That's amazing. And now my understanding is with that job, it's helped you move into a whole different financial picture.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier, like if you would have told me 5 years ago that I'd have all my bills just set up on auto pay, I'd been like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Just little things like that, because I'm used to living a life where it's, okay, I'll pay my utility bill this week, my rent, half of it next week, my rent the other half the week after, making arrangements, juggling it. And now it's just, I just set it all up to get paid, and it just goes automatic. And I'm like, all right.
That's a good feeling. And so one of the things that we help our members with at RISE is learning how to budget. So we make sure that everybody understands their income, their expenses, their wants, their needs. So how did that program help with everything that you're ultimately being able to succeed with?
Yeah, Meg used to be on me because I spent so much money on stuff. She's like, why are you spending all this money on cable? And because of this program, I cut off MediaCom.
Sorry, MediaCom.
They're like, you don't need that. So I cut that down, and I'm relentless about even my utilities, not turning my heat up too high or the air on too much, and it's all just little stuff that I've learned through here that adds up.
Yeah.
And not wasting money on things that really don't need. that I want. But
Yeah,
Amazon had me
understanding-
hooked there for a little while, but I'm doing much better.
I think that's a side effect of COVID.
Thank you for listening to Enrichment Today, brought to you by the Drew Lewis Foundation. At the Drew Lewis Foundation, we educate, empower, and support underserved families through personalized programs and coaching to increase the quality of life and build resilient communities. If you like Enrichment Today, make sure to follow Enrichment Today and Drew Lewis Foundation on social media. And now, back to the show.
So did it help as far as starting a savings account?
Yes.
And some of the things that we try to help folks accomplish is set up an emergency fund of around $1,000, and then having that 3 to 6 month time frame covered if unemployment or something should come up where you can't work. All these different goals, and it's just kind of, I find it very, you sleep better, right?
Yeah.
Because you have these financial resources in case of an emergency. But it's just cool because I coach some of our members as well, and I just love stories like yours. It means a lot to me. I'm an only parent as well, and it's kind of encouraging when you hear other single women or single dads out there that are making it work. So what else? Tell me a little bit more about your relationship with Drew Lewis and the classes. So you're not able to come to class, right?
No, because I'm at work, but I do the Zoom option
Right.
through we're at work, and it's been great for me. I'm so glad we have that.
I think that is the coolest thing, that we have that option for people who can't come in. We do have the Zoom, and that's kind of a nice feature. In all the classes, we build them up over different topics like setting healthy boundaries, understanding the why behind what you do, your intentions, not just about money and finances. It's getting you to get a different mindset. Is there a mindset that you've learned to take on over the past few years that you've been associated with Drew Lewis?
Basically just not to give up. I just know to just keep going, and there's nothing to, I think one thing that Amy used to say is, how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
And she always said that, like, just don't ever think anything's too overwhelming, and don't shut down, just reach out. And I used to never reach out, ever. But now I know I can just pick up my phone and call somebody, and especially Meg, I can bug her about anything.
It's really easy to isolate and feel, going back to what we said, that shame factor can really mess with your head, and you got to get out of that. That's a tough one, but you have to get above that. There's a lot of resources that Drew Lewis offers. Are there some that you took advantage of, or?
Well, my youngest one goes to daycare here now at Life 360.
Nice.
So they help me, with that resource. And then, they helped me with Green for Green. They've helped me with, just everything. I can't go on and on enough about the program and how much they've done for me.
Yeah. So what was your first impression of Amy when you met her?
I thought just her strength. Like, you automatically you could see the strength in her. And it's just like, wow, she's just not scared of anything. She's ready to go.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe her. She's pretty fearless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand that. And then Megan, was Megan your first coach?
No, actually my very first one, I think her name was Keely, but it's been a very long time ago. And then I had Drew, and then I had Tamar, and then I had Megan.
Megan,
Yeah.
Megan is.
I've been through them.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. And now you're with Monica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Monica's another. So she went through Rise, and now she's a coach. So it's a pretty cool evolution that we've got going on, and makes me happy. So what other obstacles you've had your share? What was it like growing up for you? Did you have stuff that happened, and has that been?
My childhood, I was the only child and grew up with my mom and my grandma, and we moved here from Texas when I was about 14. I actually lived right across the street from here and grew up right here. I went to Weaver and Pipkin, and I had a pretty great childhood. I think that a lot of mine was, I was very spoiled, and I got pretty much whatever I wanted. And we didn't, one of the things we talked about a lot in class is like, not talking about money growing up, and like and when I grew up, it was like we didn't ask how much stuff cost. It was rude and things like that. So I didn't really know a lot about savings or bills or anything. So as I got older, I think I had this sense of entitlement that I should be able to have whatever I wanted, because that's how growing up, I got what I wanted. And so as I got older and didn't get what I wanted, I started acting out and ended up getting in a bunch of trouble. And so that's when I turned like 18, 19 is when I started getting in trouble with the law and stealing and things like that.
So you're one of those stories that just fascinates me, because you have come through some stuff, and so there wasn't anything in particular that was crazy that happened when you were younger. It was just that sense of, I should have that, so I'm going to take it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's probably more prevalent than we realize. And then you've just kind of become a success story, so it's kind of come full circle. So what do you teach your kids? What are you teaching them?
I teach them about how expensive things are, and like nothing's free. It's okay to talk about money. It's okay to ask how much stuff is, and it's okay to do chores and earn money so you can buy things. It doesn't have to be just given to you. Yeah.
And you've got a 16-year-old, is that right? So are they working? And
she watches the kids for me while I work.
Yeah.
So she's pretty much the babysitter.
Yeah.
So
that's a cool thing.
Yeah. But I definitely, I pay her and she earns her money for it. And so she kind of likes that right now.
So you're teaching them it's amazing what kids soak in, right? They just absorb so much. And they're probably just learning so much from your life story. Do you share everything with them as far as I guess age appropriate?
Yeah, pretty much. My little ones don't really know much, but my older ones definitely do. Yeah, because my oldest is 25. Gotcha. And so I have a 25, 24, 19, and a 16. Those are my older ones. And so they know, what I've been through, and I try to let them know that so that they know not to go down that same road. It's really hard once you get started on that road to come back, but you're never too far gone. Yeah. Definitely.
I like that. You're never too far gone. I like that a lot. And you have to believe in yourself, and you have to find some type of support system. That's cool. So when you said you were in jail for a little while, like a couple of years ago?
Yeah, in 2018.
And you knew the Drew Lewis people at that point. So was it a source of help at all, or?
No, I didn't really reach back out until after I got out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I wasn't reaching out to anyone before I went. I had started using and was isolating so much, nobody ever saw me.
So what was the catalyst? What was it that really pushed you to say enough is enough?
Before I got locked up, I knew I was miserable. Like I never left the house, and everybody I was surrounded with they weren't supportive at all, and I was just miserable. I was so depressed. Like I was ready to call it quits. And then I think going to jail is what saved me, because it gave me that time away from the situation I was in, and it let me, get sober and kind of get back to myself and realize this is not what I want to keep doing with my life. And it's like, something's got to change. And I just remember sitting in the courtroom, listening to the prosecutor list off how many crimes I'd committed and all these things I've been doing since I was 18 years old, and now I'm 40, And I just was sitting there like, is this really what I want my whole life to be like? And I just remember thinking that, like, I've got to change. And even my lawyer told me, he's like, if you don't change, you're going to prison. He's like, there's no way I'm going to be able to save you. And even at that point, we thought for sure I was going back to prison. Like, I didn't even know if they'd let me out to go to the sober living house. That was just grasping at a straw. And then they offered me 10 years in prison. And I fought that, and the judge was like, this is your last chance. He's like, you're doing really good. Because he ended up setting my sentencing out for a year and let me finish the entire program just to see what I was going to do.
The sober. Okay.
And so I finished the program. I was working and doing everything I was supposed to be doing, going to classes, coming here, volunteering for some other places. And he's like, and even the judge said, he's like, you were pretty far down the road. We didn't know if you were going to save yourself. He's like, but I'm going to give you this chance. And so far, it's been great.
That
2 years. I've been doing the right thing. So
yeah. That really gives me chills. I love that you just discovered this passion for your life that was more important than any external source. Gosh, that is That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, what else? Is there anything else that you want to share about your association with Drew Lewis? And going to keep on?
Oh yeah, I'm
trucking
here.
on?
You guys are gonna keep hearing from me. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. No, I love, so some of the times I'll teach on a Thursday night and we'll have some people in class and then I'll look up on the Zoom screen and there is Misty and you've got your protective gear on because over at the factory they have, what is it?
Yeah, my headphones and my hard hat.
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
have a mask on.
And so she is all
you just see about
cooking.
this much of me.
Yeah. For the longest time, this was all I knew of Misty. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So I love that you are there and you participate. You don't just, click it on and do whatever. You're usually asking questions or posting something to chat. So it's been a pretty amazing experience. And I feel very, very blessed to get to finally meet you in person.
Well, thank you.
And not just over the camera. So, well, I think we're going to wrap up this episode. It was just really important to me that you guys start meeting some of the members from the Drew Lewis community because we can't do our work unless our members do their work. And we've got some people out there that are just bound and determined to make their life better. It is a matter of digging in and finding out what's important, and then believing in yourself enough, putting the shame out of the picture, no room for shame, doing the work, taking it step by step, asking questions, feeling empowered, and moving forward every day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Enrichment Today podcast. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And visit our websites enrichmenttoday.org and drewlewis.org. Until next time, remember to break some crayons.